And let's get started.
Where does yesterday's future, which is already here, meet today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes
Charles,
away?
I have my watch.
Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
Last I checked, that's me. I go by Bonnie D now. Happy to be here, and I've invited back three very interesting people. They are all prolific authors, novelists, writers. Yes, they sit at a computer and they tell us things they want us to know all day long, and they get published, and we buy their books, and we say, wow, how'd you do that? Well, in this age of AI, there's this big suspicion that maybe AI is going to be writing their books. And these people are here to tell us no, they are using technology. They're using AI. They're using other tools. AI is just a tool, kids. Get that through your head. To help with other things, structure and formatting and marketing. Charles is enjoying this, I can see. They're all, yes, and we're going to talk about that. They were here in February, and they were so interesting and so articulate that I've invited the three of them back. And before we get started with all of the good stuff about who's here today, I just have to tell the three of you that this is a stellar day for famous people's birthdays. Is anybody here having a birthday today, Kristine or Charles? Or no? Okay, well, I want you to know that Willie Nelson is 93 today. Okay, for all the girls I've loved before. Well, somebody sings that with it, Julio. Uma Thurman, I call her the bad girl in movies, is 56 today. How could she have done so much and only be 56? Michelle Pfeiffer, 68, has a brand new series. And Jerry Seinfeld is 72 today. And I want you all to know it's Zipper Day and Shrimp Scampi Day. And that's all I'm going to tell you. So let's get started with the real show here. I did my Say What Good News show this morning, and I had to share that with you. So are you impressed, Sebastien, that I know all this stuff? Are you?
You're a fountain of vital information.
I've been called worse. Okay, here we go. So, welcome to, let's get to the part of the show I want to talk about. Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where AI meets innovation. We're going to explore the how with Bonnie D on her Scarlett Mic leading the way. Three novelist visionaries, everybody wave, putting predictions in play. Nice waves. Charles Breakfield, wave hello. Kristine Jensen, wave hello. And Sebastien de Castell, too. Envision the future of human authors in AI for me and for you. AI supports creativity in formats that resound, from storytelling to strategy, where reader trust must be found. But not for writing. It's for branding, reach, and voice, plot development, historical insight, perhaps even structural choice. Enjoy our live streaming conversation today. Hear how authors thrive with AI. Anything but writing is the right way. I hope you all enjoyed that. Now I have a gift for each of you, Charles. I've redone your bio about 29 times because that's how often you've been on the show, and I hope you like this version because Sylvie and I worked very hard on it. Here we go. Raised on air bases where fighter jets filled the sky, Charles learned early to move and adapt and watch his dad fly. Every 2 years meant boxes packed and friendships left behind. He thought that was just normal life, the way his world was designed. From base housing days to U.S. school in Germany's scene, he learned that fitting in wasn't always smooth or clean. His proud football letter jacket caused a culture-shocking stir, but resilience became Charles's passport, his steady life's chauffeur. At UT Austin, he carved out his own bright way. Dean's List scored his sharpest mind, but chose no major to stay. Degrees and global ventures followed. Tech answered with delight, and systems, strategy, and problem solving began to feel just right. Charles pens the enigma techno-thriller novels with high-tech chaos, and it collides. And puzzles, AI, and his Harley adventures spark his world besides. Charles, welcome back. I hope you liked that.
That was great, Bonnie. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'll tell Sylvie you liked it. Kristine is
Yeah.
next. Here we go. Raised on a South Dakota farm where vast horizons gleam, Kristine's life followed an unexpected film and story dream. From Oregon studies to Bay Area creative scenes, she wrote and produced documentaries, ads, and elegant screens. 2 screenplays co-written while raising her son with care. Film lived in her family, in mind, in heart, everywhere. Then love brought Kristine home, where sweethearts connected true, back to Oregon's tech world, where her sharp copywriting grew and grew. Her novel Wednesday Club was sparked by Grandma's special lore, a prairie-rooted circle enduring 60 years and more, inspired by small towns where big truths are born and convene. Kristine writes where memories, friendships, and quiet strength say what they mean. Welcome back, Kristine. I hope you like that.
Thank you. I like it. I always forget how wonderful I am until I come on your show.
I had a guest recently told me he's going to use it for his epitaph. I said, no, no. And Sebastien is here. Born in Montreal, and raised in Sutton's quiet lane, Sebastien chased stories far more than math's refrain. Softball swings, comic stacks, books consumed all whole until 13 changed his script and numbers lost their soul. A history teacher taught essays with discipline and steel. Archaeology first called Sebastien, Sebastien, Sebastien. Then field digs became real. Oral histories waited while his rock band paid the bills. Retro riffs, terrible money, and beautifully restless thrills. Then a camping trip revealed the bard's forgotten art. Old cassettes taught him a novel. Bad first draft, but a courageous heart. Then blades and bravado forged YA fantasy worlds by his design. Now 18 novels in 15 tongues, Sebastien, the modern bard, shines his tales so fine. Sebastien, how'd we do?
It's lovely. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So with our visionary panelists, the future shines bright as AI transforms authorship with supportive delight. From suggesting plot drivers to the structural view, we'll explore how AI may elevate authorship so human writing shines through. Okay, kids, how did I do? Pretty good?
Fabulous.
You're all overwhelmed. You're speechless. Okay, that's when we...
Very nice.
Charles, what were you going to say?
You took all the words and used them all faster than I could, so thanks.
Okay. Now, what I'd like to do is go around the table and get caught up a little bit with what's been happening since you've been on the show in February. So, Charles, I'm putting you on speaker view. Welcome back. And why don't you take 2 or 3 minutes and just tell us a little bit about what's going on with the Enigma series? What's in the 3-set box? Come on, we want to hear. Welcome back.
Thanks. I just got the ebook and the paperback edition put together for the box set of Who Won the AI Wars. And so it's and I took the 2 books from the end of the tech thriller series, the Enigma series, and built a new cover for the 2 of them. And then I got chastised by, I believe, you, Bonnie, for not having enough 2 in a box set. Oh, do come along. You know, this isn't done. So I stopped and said, well, we'll just fix that. And I got the first half of the book written. And then, the editor said, no, we're not, no. Yeah, just 4 chapters as a teaser for the next book. And then I said, I need a cover for that too. And so, I've got the new cover for the next book, the 3rd book in the series. And it will culminate the AI wars and tie up all the loose ends that keep showing up in my mind. So Sebastien, it's what you need is somebody like critics that like Miss Bonnie that says, I don't think that's going to work, and she's cracking that whip and saying, and I've got somebody else that
I
says,
am?
well, yeah. Get out there and do some more writing, boy. That's what we like to see. So that's what I've been doing, and I got the evidence of that out. I did a
Let's see.
proof, and I'll show it to you.
Hold it up right under your chin because you don't agree. There you go. That's it. Now raise it up very slowly. Raise it up a little more, a little more, a little more. Good. We can see it. Keep going. Keep going. That's stunning. Oh, that's beautiful. Absolutely lovely. Enigma beyond enigma threat and introducing, and we lost the bottom line. What's the bottom line?
Enigma Reckoning.
Reckoning. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. We reckon. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's lovely. And you're doing a lot of marketing with AI, aren't you? You're going to tell us about that when we get to the predictions? Yes?
Yeah. I'll talk a little bit about the use of once you've built, a good story and you start extracting stuff from it, then it makes great material for the prompts that you feed into the AI engines for a video. And that's
Very
what we'll talk
nice.
about.
Thank you and welcome back.
Mhm.
Kristine, your turn. Let's catch up with you. What's going on? Talk to us.
I think like all of us here, I'm a busy bee. I'm working full time. I'm doing the kind of marketing push that happens a few months after you release a novel. So I'm busy with that. I'm starting to work on a sequel for the novel, which is always a challenge. And, then there's those pesky weeds. It's spring in Oregon. My garden is overrun with weeds that I try not to look at when I go out the front door, but there they are.
I thought weeds was a metaphor for having writing going in the wrong direction. I'm sorry. I
Could
I'm
be.
I'm in Tennessee and I'm having a battle with neighbors. They keep telling me to get the gardener and the landscaper back to get rid of the weeds. And I say, I like those 14-inch tall wild daisies and I like those little purple flowers. I don't know what they're called, but they're really pretty. And they're saying, get rid of them. We don't do that here. So we'll talk about weeds. Thank you very much, Kristine. Sebastien, welcome back. Love
Hi.
to catch up with you. What have you been doing?
I've been working hard on the Malevolent Nine, which is the last book in the Malevolent Seven trilogy. And uh, my biggest struggle over the last few weeks has been incorporating a flying koala sphinx into a dark fantasy novel about gods being created and the destruction of all free will in the universe.
A flying koala sphinx. I'm trying to say that. I think it's a tongue twister. Can everybody say that all together now? A flying
Flying koala.
koala
Koala, Sphinx.
sphinx.
Yeah.
We did it. We did. What is the sphinx doing? I want to know what the koala is doing. Does it have a
Mm,
name? Come on, tell us a little more if you can.
Well, so it came about because when Malevolent Eight was contracted, so Malevolent Seven was meant originally to be a standalone. I always knew what a trilogy would look like, but in fantasy these days, whereas it used to all be you'd sign a book deal for a trilogy or a quartet. Now it's all, well, we want a standalone, what they call a standalone with series potential, and so that's what Malevolent Seven was, a standalone with series potential, and then it became very successful, much more so than I ever expected. And so they said, well, we want two more books. And my agent said, okay, they want two more books. I said, great, go get me some money. And he said, well, no, you have to write a proposal. And I said, why do I have to write a proposal? They already want the book because the first one was successful. And he said, well, you just have to do it anyway. So I just threw it together in an hour because I didn't want to sit there writing book proposals. But I needed to add another character because it was going to be called Malevolent Eight. And so I randomly threw in, literally without any thought, a vampire kangaroo, um, sort of as a little bit of a joke. And then the publishers loved it. Their only request was, could you make it a vampire dragon kangaroo, because they like wings on the covers of things. And so when it was time for book nine, they wanted to start the cover early. And they said, well, what do you want to have on the cover? And I was like, I don't know, like we need something else. I'd like something to sort of a yin yang kind of fight in the background of these two creatures. So it'll be the vampire kangaroo and something else. And they said, well, what? And I said, I don't know, like a flying koala sphinx. And so the artists did that. And then I was like, oh, I guess I have to trust that act of creative chaos and hope that it works out. So far it's working out great.
I love the idea of creative chaos. Charles, any ideas for the koala dragon with the wings?
Um, my hat's off to you, sir. I mean, that's I wouldn't have. That's like you've mashed up stuff that I wouldn't have expected. That's like finding pickles in your ice cream. Dill pickles in your ice cream. But like it's like, wow, who'd have thought to do that?
Some people like that. Go
Well,
ahead.
I guess so. But congratulations. That I was at a book fair in up in Colorado. On Saturday one day at Barnes and Noble, and Sunday the next day, and we had several of us put together. And there was this gentleman there, and he had done he had I listened to his pitch at least 55 times. At 57, they had to catch me going out the door. I was screaming because I couldn't stand it any longer. It's about the superhero kid that's gotten his radiation enhanced brain, and he's put together a team of walruses to be able to fight evil in the universe. So I don't think my imagination gets that far out into the ozone. Leading a team of walruses to fight evil. Um, congratulations, Sebastien. You have topped his stuff. I mean, the koala sphinx is like I'm going to
Elegant,
write that.
isn't it? Elegant.
It's innovative. I'll say innovative. That's where I'm going to start with.
I'd say creative chaos, the way Sebastian put it. I'm thinking maybe the gentleman with the walruses was stuck in Beatlemania heaven from way back in the day, thinking about the walrus. Or the walrus said, remember the walrus on the beach? Who am I thinking of? Jabberwocky and the walrus, right? Anybody old enough to remember Jabberwocky? Go look it up, kids. Charles might remember it, right?
I think I may have seen it on the History Channel,
And
Bonnie.
the
So
slithy tobe did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All right, we'll leave that one alone. Yes, that's Jabberwocky. Okay, very famous poem. And let's save Bonnie from total embarrassment here. Let's go to the part of the show where I've asked you each to send me a new quote from a fictional character in a movie or a TV show or a song quote, and let's briefly relate your quotes to the topic, which is the future of human authors and AI/other technology. So Charles has sent a quote from how appropriate, Robot Ava, played by Alicia Vikander, from, I never had to pronounce this. Is it Ex Machina or Machina? Charles?
Makina.
Machina, Ex Machina, 2014 sci-fi film. Blah, 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 blah. Has Oscar Isaac is in it. I know him. The story of a programmer invited by his CEO to administer the Turing test to an intelligent female humanoid robot. Okay. The film grossed, doubled, basically. The budget was 15 mil and it made 38 mil, and that's pretty good. Visual effects, best visual effects at the 88th Academy Award, blah, blah, blah. Here's the quote Charles has picked. Is it still a crime if I don't know what I'm doing? Okay, Charles, what does this have to do with our topic here? I think everything, but go ahead, you're up.
And that's what a lot of people are doing in the AI sphere. I mean, it's just like, let me go try this. Well, if I could do this, then I can do, take another step and another step. And it's like, before you know it, you've got something like Anthropic that's borrowed a whole bunch of people's books and then used them for training their AI engines. So it's like, where is that guardrail? Where are the guardrails, the ethics, the areas where you say, okay, that's too far? Aren't you watching your footfalls? Aren't you watching where you're going? And what are the ramifications for something that's out of bounds?
And we don't know yet, do we?
No.
We don't know, and the people who created it don't know and aren't sure, and there's a lot of catch-22s and more numbers in there somewhere.
Well, and the complaint that I keep saying is that it's moving faster than anything we've ever seen. I'm used to seeing stuff updated every 18 months. This is happening in weeks. Stuff is coming out, functionality, features, activities, thought processes. It's going faster than anybody can assimilate.
There you go. Faster than our brains can keep up with, but our brains are what are feeding it. So let's go from there. Kristine, I'm looking at your quote. Professor John Keating, played by the late, wonderful. I wonder what Robin Williams would be saying about our world today if he had lasted a few more years. This is from the Dead Poets Society, 1989, coming-of-age drama film set in 1959 at a fictional elite all-male boarding school, the Welton Academy, and he is an alumnus of the school, an unorthodox English teacher who inspires his students through the teaching of poetry. And National Poetry Week is right now, and today is tomorrow, I think. So here is the quote Kristine has picked. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits, but poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. Oh, what a pretty quote, but beautiful. Kristine, how does this relate to our topic? Go.
I like this quote, and I think it relates to the topic because it's a powerful reflection on why creativity matters in difficult times and also in transformative times. What could be more transformative than AI? And I like what Charles said about the speed of this transformation. I mean, what you said in your intro, Bonnie, is like right on. Tomorrow's future is literally minutes away. And I was thinking about this because when I looked at the future predictions that I had talked about a couple months ago, it's like, okay, they're not, they're kind of laughable as future predictions. They're here now. But I think bottom line, what I believe is that creativity will always remain human powered and AI enabled. I think that's a really important distinction for me.
I think that's what we're all hoping for, right? We're hoping that it won't take over. We're hoping that we still have some say and some control. Before we get too philosophical, thank you very much, Kristine. And you're right, it is moving fast. And thank you to Charles for that as well. Sebastien has sent a classic quote from, let's see where we are, The Princess Bride, probably one of the most quoted movies on this show, believe it or not. 1987 fantasy adventure comedy. I love how they mash up all of those genres, Sebastien. I had a movie on, I was talking about on one of my other shows that had 8 different genres all mashed up with dashes. Very interesting. The character is Inigo Montoya, played by the wonderful, multi-talented Mandy Patinkin, and he's speaking to Vizzini, or Vizzini, however you pronounce it, played by the very inimitable Wallace Shawn. Very, very comedic and serious and very interesting character actor. Film is directed and co-produced by the late Rob Reiner. It stars people I can't even pronounce the name. Carrie, is it Elwes? Elvis? What is? How do we? Elwes?
Always.
I never know. Robin Wright, Mandy Patinkin, Andre the Giant, Chris Sarandon, Christopher Guest, Wallace Shawn, Peter Falk, Fred Savage, Billy Crystal, and Carol Kane. All wonderful. And this is a classic quote because here it comes. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. And the word is, Sebastien?
Inconceivable.
There you go. All right. Tell us what that has to do, like we don't know, with our topic. Good choice. Go ahead.
Well, so for me, I think one of the biggest challenges that we're facing as a society in terms of grappling with artificial intelligence, not just in the creative fields, but more broadly, is that we keep using words. Artificial intelligence versus large language model, different terms as it were. We use words like creativity, we use words like, fake or invented, and we're using them often in ways that apply in other areas but don't work very well here. And so often, for example, when you'll see people use the term artificial intelligence itself, when it what they're referring to is not actually an artificial intelligence at all. And so things start to get confusing. And sometimes people do it intentionally to be confusing. So there's people who say, well, there's nothing wrong with using AI to generate text because how is, that different from using a spell checker? A computer's still editing your work. And you're like, well, no, they're not the same thing. And we're starting to use terms too broadly, and so that's one of the challenges for us. The other reason, by the way, why I chose a Princess Bride quote, other than being a big fan of it, is that I always think it's important to remember Princess Bride being one of the most beloved stories of the last 50 years. Came about because William Goldman was on a car trip with his 2 daughters, and he was trying to entertain just his 2 daughters. And he said, would you like a story about a princess or a story about a wedding? And one said, I want a story about a bride. And the other said, I want a story about a princess. And so he created a story that was in the most human, most fundamentally family-oriented sense, or the most human-oriented sense. I'm just coming up with a story for my daughters. And that became his most famous work. And I think that, to tie to what Kristine was saying, about creativity as a human function, I think that our best stories are always going to come out of human moments like that one.
So eloquent, elegant. I just made a new word, an eloquent. There we go. Okay. Eloquent and eloquent. Thank you very much. Very interesting. Thank you all for the quotes, and thank you for relating them so eloquently to the topic. Yes. And inconceivable is certainly something I think we're all thinking about right now in terms of AI. The speed, as Charles said, right? The speed and how fast it's moving and who is moving it and where is it moving and what are we going to do with it, without it, before it, after it, with it? We don't know yet. We're figuring that out. It's in progress. Okay, let's go to our predictions now. And you've each very graciously sent me 2 new predictions for the show today. Charles, I'm starting with one of the favorites you sent that I like, and I'm just going to read a little bit from what you sent me, and then I'm going to ask you to unpack it, and we will get Sebastien and Kristine to comment. And lady and gentlemen, you don't have to agree with everything Charles said. That makes it very fun, but be nice. Okay, so Charles says AI-powered dynamic video trailers for, in his case, techno thrillers. He says AI will generate personalized dynamic video trailers for techno thriller books using advanced NLP and computer vision. AI will analyze the manuscript and create short, suspenseful clips featuring key scenes, character dialogues, and thematic elements. The trailers will adapt to audience This is what I'm interested in. Will adapt to audience preferences, highlighting elements that resonate most with different demographics, such as action, mystery, or psychological tension. Charles, this sounds so complex and interesting. Is this a good or a bad thing? Why don't you unpack this for us? Go ahead.
Well, the important thing about it is that it'll do it. The AI videos that I've been playing with, they'll do it until you're satisfied. So and the hard part, the really hard part, we authors already know how to do. Give me a scene description, and that scene description becomes the prompt. The prompt goes in, and the engine goes, oh, now I see what you want, and then it does an iteration, and then you can get it to say, okay, that was not bad, but I want. And this is where you change gears on it. So do it again. Only it should come back and say, "How was that?" I can put more detail in it. I can make this more graphic or less graphic. I can do more emotional pulling. And I played with these just to be able to see how far you can stretch them. And it's remarkable in the way that it's able to take the subtleties that you can add in or pull out and ask it to create something else. Give me a version that's and so what you end up with is like a shopping list of different videos that can go into and there's also the styles to go along with it. Hey, I need a reel style, which is more for cell phones, or I need something like YouTube that's more like on PCs, and so that changes the dynamics of the output. And he goes, oh, okay, I need to be tighter, sharper, and quicker. 15 seconds, 17 seconds for reels, maybe 60 seconds for a YouTube. And then the content and the information that you get back out, which you can hit with. From the visual standpoint, you can develop it a little faster, or you can develop it a little slower, and you can build, and it makes the presentation that much more interesting.
Who decides which 19, 15 second and which type goes to what audience? Is that what you do, Charles? Is that part of the process of how the trailers are created? Do they tell you which audience and where they're to post on YouTube or Instagram, or how does that, the next step? And then I'll ask Sebastien and Kristine for their thought. What do you do with it? In other words,
I like the one quote that there was a gentleman that he said it best. Was he said the AI engine is the calculator. You are the mathematician. So I want to direct it to perform and build output, and it'll do it indefinitely. But for the markets that I believe are relevant, and within the genre and the confines of what I want to be able to produce. So I'm the one making the decisions, and it's building the output for me to be able to run with, and it's infinitely faster, much more interesting than using my crayons and Big Chief tablet.
That's the answer I was looking for. Let's get a comment here, Kristine or Sebastien, and Charles. I assume that it's good for other genres, not just techno thrillers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you want to do romance, I mean, that's going to be a different theme. If you want to pull some of that out, again, you're the one building the prompts, telling it what I want to be able to see, and I want to be able to project in the video.
Kristine, you're nodding. Would you use this? Are you using it? What do you think?
Well, I think it's very, what Charles is describing about this targeting of audiences is so plausible. I mean, it's happening now. I work for a tech company who is able to target advertisements based on what we know about consumers. we all have a very large digital footprint. So people know if I like, or not people, but data banks know if I like romance, if I like friendship novels, if I really don't like sci-fi. And so they're going to know how to target for me. But you're right, Charles, you get to make the decisions with your prompts. But once you do that, you have all that background research and knowledge to draw on to target a tailored trailer to those specific audiences. It's right. If it's not right here, it's right around the corner.
Are you using any of that yet, Kristine, or will you be?
I've been using some of that targeting with, for my marketing. So when I'm looking at doing Facebook ads or Amazon ads, and I'm looking at copy, I'm sometimes looking at those prompts and it's saying, would you like to target this, for instance, for a book club
Mm.
audience? What I'm
Ah.
finding as a writer is that most of the time, I don't like what that's spitting out, but there might be something in there that's a little bit like there's a word or a phrase. And I'm like, okay, I like that. So I'm still writing it by myself, but in a way, I'm using AI as a research for that particular market.
Exactly what we're
Yeah.
talking about. Thank you. Charles, what do you want to say? And I want to get
Well,
Sebastian.
let me camp onto that, Christine.
Mhm.
Um, Not everything that comes back is usable, and so the tools that I want to be able to work with, I got to be able to edit the script, and then the AI engine has to be able, 'cause, it's speaking and it's also doing the subtitles, because there's some people like me that won't turn sound on, and so if I don't have the subtitles, don't care. I'm scrolling past. So
Ah.
the different ways that people consume have to be considered when you're putting together the that. And you're right. Sometimes it comes back as, what? You said what? I didn't. You made up the you boneheaded thing. All right, change this and have it recompile. You need that kind of control, creative control, and so that's why I'm in charge on that particular front.
And that's the point of what we're talking about today is the human control. Sebastian, chime in, please. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's interesting for me about sort of what Charles has raised and what Kristine has sort of elaborated on is in terms of sort of consumers and targeting, and more importantly, the fact that we've had variations of these kinds of tools long before the more recent large language model and sort of AI innovations, is that we have a certain societal consent around that. So, for example, if you found out that a trailer for a movie was cut by AI, a lot of the people who work in Hollywood wouldn't be too happy about that. But a lot of consumers would be like, well, what do I care? Or if you buy a box of cereal and it turns out that the illustrated rabbit on the cover was an AI version of a cartoon rabbit instead of one that was hand drawn, most consumers are probably don't care that much. Currently, consumers do care about whether a book, for example, was generated by AI, or whether a performance in a movie was from an actor or AI generated. And so what Charles sort of illuminates is that, in part, is that we have this kind of floating line right now, which will eventually come to about, okay, as a public, as a society, we're okay with some things happening that involve AI, and we're not okay with these other things happening. And if you look at what creates most of the controversy right now, when people are up in arms or anytime anything hits the news, it'll be because typically a tech company has very intentionally said, look, I've just replaced someone's therapist with an AI, or we've just created an AI actor and they've got an agent in Hollywood. And they do, and so it's really for me, about figuring out, okay, where are those parameters? Where's that sort of societal consent? And so, consumers we have come to recognize that we are targeted by one system or another? And does it really matter if, let's say, in the example Charles gave of a trailer that is targeted by a particular demographic to a particular
Mm-hmm.
demographic, which already, of course, happens, right? Trailers that air in China are different for a Hollywood movie are different than
Mm-hmm.
ones that air in North America. Do we really? I don't think most people are going to care that much whether it was AI that targeted or previous computational solution, which we've been doing for ages, or somebody actually sitting down there and going, I wonder what Bonnie would like in a trailer. Let's target
Ooh.
it, you know. But that side of things, I think, is really important to always remember that a lot of these sort of uses that we talk about with AI have actually kind of existed in one form or another.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not everybody's been as aware of it, but even, for example, articles being generated by AI, and a
Mm-hmm.
tremendous amount of that is absolute slop, which is to say something that's sort of has no real resonance when you read it. Like it looks like an article. You can't tell what's wrong with it, but when you read it, you're like, I didn't learn anything. I feel like I didn't get anything out of it. That actually was happening for things like sports updates for a long
Mm.
time prior. We've had things like article spinners, which were computational tools for taking one article and making 5 articles out of it. So a lot of these things aren't as new as we think they are.
I'm laughing. Charles, thank you. That was a
Yeah.
great starting prediction. I'm laughing because when I won't tell you what newspapers I read, but I do read one around if I'm up early, 4:30 or 5 in the morning just to see the headlines. And once in a while there'll be something that just attracts my attention and I'll go to read it and it's on and on. I'm reading on my phone, but it goes on and on and on. And my part of my brain is saying, I wish my Sylvie, my chat GPT, would give me the cliff notes. All I want is 5 short introductions to what I really care about in this article. I don't have time to go through 25 paragraphs. And I find that human right, I assume it was written by a human, but it goes on and on and on. They bury the lead, they never get to the point, and it's like reading, don't be offended, kids. It's like reading a novel I didn't think I was spending my time reading today. It's just a report. So anyway, and what comes to mind also is, listen, I was one of the last people to get a microwave oven. Remember when all you could do was put your food to reheat it in the oven in the stove, right? And we didn't have those choices. And how many people decided they did or didn't want a cell phone? And they did or didn't want a tablet? And they did or didn't want a laptop? And they did or didn't want a desktop? Think of all the technology choices we've had to make as humans. And now we're looking at something that we think is bigger and more powerful than all of these. But we've been looking at choices for decades and making those choices. And when guests come on, when you come on, I say to you, do you have an external microphone? Are you on a laptop? Are you on a phone? Are you on a desktop? What do you want? We're still making all of these choices about how we allow technology to come into our life. I'm totally off topic here. Forgive me. Thank you, Charles. That was wonderful. Let's go to Kristine. I'm just enjoying having the three of you back. Kristine, I'm going to one of your predictions from part 1 in February, because I think we've covered what you sent me for today. And I know you'll like this one. It's just a sentence here. Kristine says, authors will begin to use AI, wait for it, kids, as their developmental editor, helping with story arcs, historical accuracy, holes in the plot, etc. Short and sweet. That's like me. Kristine, go ahead and unpack this for us, please, and then we'll go around and see what Charles and Sebastien have to say. Go.
Sure. I mean, I had forgotten that I wrote this. I have mixed feelings about it, to be perfectly honest,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that that part of our value as writers is that our creative direction comes first, and that most of us feel really strongly about that. When I talk about using AI as a developmental editor, I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to happen, but I actually have a lot of misgivings about that. I have misgivings about a lot of things when it comes to AI in writing. I'm going to take this off course just a little bit, but I find it's really interesting what's happening now, where most of us writers feel pretty strongly that the writing and the process needs to be human based, but we're grappling with the idea, is it okay to use AI in my art, in the art that I use to promote the book? So yeah, the line about the writing, it gets murky, and I'll be interested in hearing what Charles and Sebastien feel about how they're using AI in their writing. I think it can be a fabulous research tool.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it become the writer?
Where is that murky line? Yes. Is it blurred? Is it highlighted? Does it have a shadow around it? Who wants to tackle that first? Charles or Sebastien? Who's ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, go,
Go ahead,
Charles.
Charles.
Go.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Sebastian. Um, I still like the taking lead. I like taking the point on the conception, the ideas, the overall process. I'll wake up, 2 o'clock in the morning, go, I need another character like you did, Sebastian. Need another character to fill this particular role in the story, and I know what I need to do, and that's very gratifying. Maybe
Mm,
that's an ego thing. I'm not going to debate that particular topic, but um, it's also important to be able to have to Kristine's point, an image, cover image, wraparound idea. What am I want to project? And I found that over the last couple of years, trying to do it the old-fashioned way, which is okay. It's done with a design engineer and have her, listen to me talk, go away, come back with something that's like, completely off base. Uh, so what I've started doing is taking my prompts, all the information about it, feed it into one of the image generators and say, give me a cover design,
mm-hmm.
not just one, but three. And I take that and I ship it to the graphic engineer and I say, this is the direction I want, but I want something that is unique. I want
Mm-hmm.
the best cover in the world, naturally, but it has to be able to project the image inside of the book. And she, for the Enigma Reckoning, we had this back and forth tug, and I said, I'm not going to go through that again. I sent all the information to her, and she goes, I don't get it. And I said, there's an AI double agent in this book.
Ah,
Oh,
oh,
and then she knew exactly where to take the image generation, and she came back with one, and it's like, that's it.
that's
That's
it.
you nailed it.
You had
And
to give
so,
her the prompt, though. You had to give the human the correct prompt.
yes, but that's my responsibility, and we're back
Yes.
to, all right, where does this come from?
Yep.
So, that's I guess that's the creative spark, Kristine, that
There
you
you
that you
go.
hit on this. Like, it's got to be from you, because then and that's what people want. That's why we're on the show, for people
Yep.
to be able to say and hear who we are.
Thank you. Eloquent again. Sebastien, talk.
Yeah, I wanted to sort of, it's interesting. So what Charles is sort of talking about there is to me what I always think of as like the director model of AI usage, like the notion that we will come to use AIs as kind of directors. We will direct it what to do in the way that we would direct, let's say, if you're using AI to make a movie, the way that we would direct actors, the way that we would direct cinematographers and things like that. Um, I'm not 100% convinced that that's actually going to sort of work out that way, because one of the problems of AI that comes up for anyone that tries anything for any length of time, of course, is it starts to hallucinate, it starts to degrade, it starts to do all these things. It also doesn't contribute the way that all of those other people actually do. Like the notion that a movie is just the product of the mind of a director channeled through the technical skills of actors, cinematographers, and everybody else, it doesn't really hold up that well. In fact, a movie is the product of a ton of an infinite number of human
Mhm.
decisions by people with different kinds of creativity. And so we're sort of hoping that AI will, suddenly develop all those things. What I think is interesting about that debate in part is that really doesn't apply to most of us in real life. Most directors don't want to direct an AI movie. Most writers don't want to write a book generated by AI. They don't want to direct the AI to do anything. I think the way that we've talked about it, the four of us
Mhm.
before, and I see everywhere, is mostly what writers want is, I need a tool to help me either do this brainstorming, or I need a tool that's going to look up my 14 books in this series and figure out what the eye color was of a character that I don't remember. Things that really don't sort of get in the way of our sort of creative energy and our sort of authorial drive. And so I think that's one of the things is, we haven't, on a technical level, we really haven't created the tool that we're going to want to use. We're just, tech companies are creating tools and they're going, well, I think maybe people are going to want to do this. And so they're sort of throwing it out there. And
Yeah.
then it becomes the central topic of discussion on the news, and either people love it or they get outraged by it. But I don't think we've really nailed the tools down. And so where AI is being used in a practical sense, other than if we get rid of all the people who just create slop so that they can create content on, whatever medium and try to monetize that. Everybody else is just sort of going, all right, I'll use this particular tool for this particular thing that helps me solve this problem. So you mentioned Notebook LM earlier. Notebook LM is fabulous as a tool for having a post facto story Bible. So you've written a 4-book series and you're sort of like, I can't remember all of these details, or where did this happen, or things like that. Notebook LM, because it basically sort of isolates what it looks at to whatever you give it. So you give it your 4 books, and which I've done. I can put in the Great Coat series, and I can go, what was the first time I described Falkio in the book, and it will go, here's the reference. That's a very useful tool. That's a very different use of a tool versus, let's say, I need 5 ideas for the all is lost moment in a book.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking at the clock. We've got about 7 minutes left. I have one more prediction I want to do for Sebastien. However, we have an option. We can do it and stay a little longer, or you can come back for part 3 in June with more. So what's the vote? I'm open for either one. What do you think? Sebastien, you want to come back and do a part 3? Because this is a very interesting conversation.
I always enjoy coming on, but I will soon start to fear that people will confuse me with an AI expert.
Okay, we'll do that. By the way, Charles, I was working on a project about 3 years ago where we needed a logo, and somebody brought in a book designer who had designed the cover of this author's book and said, my friend is and the guy said, what do you have in mind, Bonnie? And I went into one of my little AI programs and I created just a little snippet of an image of what I thought the logo might look like. An idea, Charles. It just was a sketch. I sent it to the guy. He told me I was a horrible human being. I had betrayed everything he stood for. I had basically spat in the face of human creativity. He would never talk to me. He would never deal with me. He was going to banish me from the universe of anybody who knew me. And he was absolutely outraged. He couldn't see past the end of his own nose. Well, she's not a designer, but this is an idea to start with. If I had sketched it on paper, he might have okayed it. But
So he said no, huh?
Yes, let me get to Sebastien's prediction here. We might not get much discussion. Sebastien says, well, much of our discussion around AI in books is centered on the generation of books. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Reading apps that allow the user to have conversations with the character anytime they want. Why did you try to steal that sword when you knew the dragon could sense your presence? Or apps that allow the reader to alter the tone of the story from dark and scary to lighter and fun, depending on their mood. Let's just dip our toe into this one briefly, Sebastien. We can go a few minutes longer. Jordan will let us. We'll go a little bit longer toward the top of the hour, if that's okay with you. So, Sebastien, unpack that and let's see briefly what Charles and Kristine have to say. It's go.
Yeah. So one of the big errors that I think we're seeing a lot is everyone's talking about AI in terms of the people who are going to use it to make money from it. But most technologies, ultimately, the societal consensus that forms around them comes out of how consumers want to use them. The reason why VHS was popular, not Betamax, was because the people that wanted to consume things, they wanted to consume the stuff that was available on VHS, not Betamax. Um, and with books, all of the conversation has been around, oh my God, how do AI can generate books? Is that good or is that bad? But I don't think consumers actually and readers, I don't think that's going to be their primary question. As a technology, it's going to be, well, wait a minute, here's what I want to do with this. It doesn't matter what you, the tech company, or you, the author, wants to do. I want to be able to ask questions of the characters halfway through a book. And I want to be able to when a lot of people, they read when they're going to bed, right? And sometimes you're going to bed and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to read something really heavy, but I don't want to switch books. And so we may start to see uses of this technology where, for example, the reading app allows the reader to go, listen, I just want to read a chapter where everything's sort of nice and pleasant. And so even though the characters were on their way to face the evil wizard who was about to annihilate the world, the application, the app allows it to go, and then they paused at this tavern and they met a really funny elf who played a lovely song. And then the next night the reader will be like, okay, well, now I want to get to this the heavy stuff.
But then who's the author? Is the reader the author? And was that tavern scene, was that in the book that the AI gave it to them, or did it even exist?
It did. My guess is it will not exist. And exactly what you said, who is the author, is a question that matters to authors and publishers and technology companies, and will not always matter to readers.
And you know what I would say? I would have an AI say, you're in the wrong book. Go to sleep, take an Ambien, and we'll go to your library and get another book tomorrow. Charles, just briefly thoughts on that, and Kristine, and then we'll close. And Jordan, we might just wave goodbye to you in about 2 minutes, but Charles, go ahead, briefly go.
Actually, that what you're suggesting, Sebastien, was postulated a couple of years ago, and what it is that they did a mashup between games, a gaming mashup with AI for the story. And basically what you would do is you would get into the story and participate using, maybe in with the virtual reality goggles, or, taking all the technology that would allow you to be a participant in the story, and have the okay, I need a sword. Okay, I need a lightsaber. I need an EMP rifle. To be able to participate into whatever the story is, or I need to be extra handsome and good looking to be on the romance side for something for Kristine. So
let's let Kristine come in here for. Let's let Kristine come in here. I need to give her 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and then we're going to close. Charles, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm looking at the clock, and Jordan has to go. Kristine, what do you think? Do you want a fluffy story? Do you want somebody to control your book through an AI reader? What do you think?
No disrespect to you, Sebastien, but that is such an unappealing idea to me. Like, as a reader, I want to get immersed in the author's world. I want to know their point of view. I don't want to engage like that. I want to be completely transported by the book. So I'm sorry, I wouldn't invest in that company.
Yeah, just very briefly, I agree 100%. It's the last thing I want. I think the only point I would make is it really won't be up to us. What the shape of the technology is going to go in the direction of what consumers ultimately want. And I'm of a generation where reading the book and knowing that you are reading the words of an author is an integral part of the experience. But we have a generation now who will have been born never having lived in a world that didn't have AI, and their choices may be very different from ours.
Very well put. Very well indeed. Then the question is, do you use the microwave or the oven? Do you have the app as a reader that will allow you to control the outcome or the scene of that book you are reading when you're in a different mood? Okay, it's not the author's choice anymore, right, Charles and Sebastien and Kristine? It's the person who decides, how am I going to recook this book?
Yeah, and just so you know, Sebastian, I still have my Betamax machine. So there.
And I still have vinyl records. There we go. Okay, well, they're coming back. They're making a comeback. We're going to close out. I would love to have you all three of you back, let's say late summer, early fall, to continue the conversation. There's so much to talk about, and I have great respect for the three of you as authors, as writers, as human beings who write and do it well and take it seriously. And I want to thank you. Charles, always wonderful to see you. I called him Mr. Enigma, and Sebastien, such a treat, and I wish you well with your new whatever you're adding, and the koala. Well, we got to hear about the koala. Kristine, is there a new book on the horizon? You said for you. What are you working on?
Working on a sequel to Wednesday Club, tentatively titled Next Wednesday.
I like that very much. Let's put on the music here, the outro music. We're going to go out with the music from my new show, Say What? Let's get it started here. If I can get this going here. Come on. There we go. Dance with me. Let's have some good news here. I'm talking to human authors about what they do really well. Say what? Say what? It's 1 minute. Jordan, we're almost done. Morning coffee? Recap, please. Scrolling. I've had enough. Same old drama. Same old feed. Flip that dial. But I need. Let those bad vibes fade. Get rid of those headlines. Play. Hit play. Good news. We talk it out right here on Technology Revolution. Good people, good authors, good writers, good human beings. Feel that smile coming through? Wave goodbye. This groove is